In history, there aren't many dates that are considered flashpoints for historical significance. October 25th, 1929, Black Friday, basically the beginning of the Great Depression. December 7th, 1941, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. September 11th, 2001. Each of these dates lives in infamy. But few could have expected that another date would join these ranks. No war, no famine, no terrorism, almost completely in silence. March 11th, 2020, 7:59 p.m. The world was my oyster. I was riding a really big high, personally. I did what every other wrestling fan on the planet was doing. I got ready to flip back and forth between AEW and NXT. But little did I know, this might be the last time that it happened the way I knew it. My name is Tony Chacon. Welcome to Couch Potato Lucha Libre. This is the 50-Hour Project. We start this journey on March 11th of 2020. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 4 events are supposed to kick off right about now. NXT kicks off on the USA Network with a tour of the Performance Center, where they were basing NXT for the night because their Full Sail Live venue was unavailable. AEW Dynamite kicks off in West Valley, Utah. Another typical Wednesday night show. Live on ESPN, the Dallas Mavericks tip off against the Denver Nuggets. Each of these kicks off at the scheduled time. Keith Lee vs. Cameron Grimes is the first match on NXT. Cody takes on Ortiz in AEW Dynamite's opening match. I mentioned earlier that there are 4 events supposed to be kicking off at the same time. That 4th one? Well, a couple hundred miles north of the American Airlines Center in Dallas, the Oklahoma City Thunder is set to tip off against the Utah Jazz. That tip-off is scheduled for 8 Eastern, but it's delayed. A doctor from the Oklahoma City Thunder runs onto the court and speaks to the officials. The announcers are confused. The 18,000 fans in attendance are confused. Every sports writer at the game is confused. All of whom just happen to be completely unaware of what the holdup is. Dallas and Denver roll on deep into the first quarter. NXT rolls along with the ending of the Keith Lee-Cameron Grimes match. Lee winning decisively and starting a storyline between him, Dominik Dijakovic, and Damian Priest. Dynamite has Cody and Ortiz for another 7 minutes. The time now is 8:11 Eastern. At 8:27 p.m., the Athletics' Shams Charania broke that Rudy Gobert, center for the Utah Jazz, has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. In the days that followed, footage of Gobert flippantly touching microphones and equipment belonging to reporters only days prior to his diagnosis would come to light and be replayed ad nauseum. At about 8:35 p.m. Eastern, the Dallas and Denver game rolls full speed ahead all the way to halftime. Mia Yim and Dakota Kai are battling for a spot in a 6-woman number 1 contenders ladder match at NXT TakeOver Tampa Bay. And Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida were in a tag team match versus Bea Priestley and AEW Women's World Champion Nyla Rose. In Oklahoma City, though, the game is confirmed as completely postponed by order of the NBA. The news hadn't spread deeply enough to stop a vocal rebuke of public address announcer Mario Nani.
And fans, due to unforeseen circumstances, the game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe.
The time now is 9:31 p.m. Eastern, 56 minutes after the suspension of the Jazz Thunder game. Adam Cole and Roderick Strong have just been ejected from ringside during the Broserweight's Undisputed Era Tag Team Championship match. NXT goes to commercial break. AEW, on the other hand, is on break and comes back to a promo package for Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard, searching for a tag team partner for Spears. Dallas and Denver are headed into the 4th quarter, the Nuggets having taken an 85-84 lead over the Mavs. Agent Wojnarowski from ESPN tweets that the NBA has suspended the season. On a breaking news break during ESPN's coverage of the Denver Nuggets-Dallas Mavericks game, Wojnarowski confirms that the rest of the night's games are to go ahead as planned, as the suspension starts in the morning on March 12th. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban is shown not only reacting to the situation, but informing his team on the bench during a timeout. As it turns out, Cuban is also the person who informed the referees of the season's suspension during the game. The game ends, Dallas 113, Denver 97. Between games, ESPN's studio segments are running rampant with speculation, with wondering of what's next. I say between games because that's the easiest way to dictate exactly what the timing of this is. Except for one thing.
Use the word canceled. Is it canceled or postponed? I would imagine postponed, that
Yes.
they'll play this game at some point. But
Live on ESPN, Dave Pasch and Richard Jefferson are waiting for the tip for the Sacramento Kings versus New Orleans Pelicans game, the second half of ESPN's doubleheader for the night. Only it doesn't happen. Just before 10:30 p.m. Eastern, the game is called and postponed. As it turns out, Courtney Kirkland, a referee, worked the Utah Jazz versus Toronto Raptors game just 2 days prior. He came into close contact with Rudy Gobert, as is wont to happen in a basketball game. At this time, though, Gobert is also the only Utah player who's tested positive for COVID-19. Fans and media alike are flabbergasted. This is unprecedented at the highest level. Where do we go from here? Well, we could start back at where we were the first time. In Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City Thunder players are all tested and are all released roughly about 10:30, about the same time the Pelicans-Kings game was supposed to tip off. On the other hand, Jazz players have to stay in Chesapeake Energy Arena. They're looking for accommodations because their team hotel will not allow them back in and is completely locked down. For 5 hours, they wait until they find a place that will take them in. Every player, every coach, every part of their travel party has been tested. The time now is 2:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date is March 12th, 2020. In a matter of just over 6 hours, the world as we know it has changed for good. We can only hope the next 44 hours are going to get better, right? Next time on the 50-Hour Project. With the world in sudden and very real disarray following the news of the NBA shutting down its season, what exactly could come next? We dive into the next 44 hours, coming to a close on our episode at the end of the first empty arena SmackDown, in the same place where NXT had hosted a full house just 2 days earlier. Please tune in for the next episode of the 50-Hour Project.